The air in the auction hall smelled of metal and fear. Maya Chin stood at the back of the crowd, her tablet clutched in her hands. She was supposed to be recording data for Dr. Vex, but she could barely focus. All around her, massive alien creatures were being dragged across the stage in chains. The Kravix auctioneer, a reptilian creature with 4 arms, pointed at each beast with pride. "This razor wing killed 30 soldiers before capture," he shouted. Alien buyers raised their hands, bidding thousands of credits. The creatures snarled and roared, their eyes wild with rage. Maya felt sick. She had been on Station Meridian 7 for 6 months, working as a research assistant. She had seen many strange things in space, but this was the worst. These were living beings treated like weapons in a store. "Next item," the auctioneer called. 2 handlers pulled a creature onto the stage with electric prods. It stumbled, its legs shaking. Maya leaned forward. The creature was unlike anything she had seen before. It looked almost like a horse from Earth, but larger. Its body was covered in dark scales that should have glowed with light, but they were dull and cracked. Old scars crossed its flanks. Its head hung low and it didn't fight the chains. "Thornback Strider, Unit 4847, the auctioneer said, his voice flat with disappointment. "From the conquest of Veltora. Age, 4 cycles." A purple-skinned alien in armor stood up. "What is its combat rating?" The auctioneer's face twisted. "It has no rating. Failed neural conditioning. Will not respond to pain stimuli. Will not attack on command. Useless." The crowd murmured. Several aliens laughed. The armored one sat down, shaking his head. "It is damaged goods," another buyer called out. "Why waste our time?" The handler jabbed the creature with the electric prod. Sparks flew across its scales. The strider made a sound, a low cry that made Maya's chest hurt. But it did not fight back. It just stood there trembling. "See? Broken spirit," the auctioneer said. "But strong body. Good for labor, maybe. Or parts. Starting bid, 100 credits." Silence filled the hall. No one raised a hand. 50 credits? More silence. The aliens were already looking at their tablets, interested in the next item. 20 credits. Anyone? The handler hit the creature again, harder this time. The strider's legs buckled. It fell to its knees on the metal stage, and Maya heard the crack from where she stood. Something broke inside her. Maya didn't think. She just moved. 50 credits, she shouted, her voice cutting through the noise. Every alien head turned to stare at her. The auctioneer blinked his 3 eyes in surprise. "The human?" Someone laughed. "Humans don't buy war beasts." 50 credits, Maya repeated, walking forward. Her heart pounded. 50 credits was everything she had saved. It was her ticket home to Earth next month. But she couldn't watch this anymore. The auctioneer shrugged. "Sold to the human. Your credits, please." Maya's hands shook as she transferred the payment. The aliens around her whispered and laughed. One large creature that looked like a walking insect leaned close to his companion. "She will learn. That thing is worthless. It will die in a week." "Stupid human," another one said. Maya ignored them. She walked to the stage where the handlers were removing the chains. The strider looked at her for the first time. Its eyes were deep blue, like Earth's ocean. But they were empty. Dead inside. "It's okay," Maya whispered, even though she knew it couldn't understand her words. "You're safe now. I promise." The creature just stared at her, as if it couldn't believe anyone would use that tone with it. As if kindness was something it had forgotten existed. Maya had no idea what she had just done. She had no plan, no place to keep this massive creature. She only knew one thing: she couldn't leave it there to die. Getting the strider to her quarters was the first problem. Maya's small room was meant for one person, not a creature the size of a small vehicle. The strider barely fit through the door. It stood in the corner, pressed against the wall, its body tense and ready to bolt. Maya looked at the creature, then at her tiny bed and desk. "Well," she said quietly, "I guess I'm sleeping on the floor now." She pushed her bed against one wall and cleared the center of the room. The strider watched her every move, its blue eyes tracking her like she might attack at any moment. For the first 3 days it wouldn't eat. Maya tried everything. She bought expensive alien feed from the station market. She offered dried protein bars from Earth. Nothing worked. The creature just stood in that corner, shaking, its eyes distant. "Please," Maya begged on the 3rd night. "You have to eat something." The strider turned its head away. Maya sat down on the floor, exhausted. She had barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she worried the creature would collapse. She could see its ribs now, pressing against its dull scales. The wounds on its legs were getting worse, red and infected. She started talking just to fill the silence. She told the Strider about Earth, about her home in California, about horses running free in fields. She talked about her little brother, about why she came to space, about how much she missed real food. The Strider didn't respond. But its ears, small and pointed, turned slightly toward her voice. On the fourth day, Dr. Vex came to her quarters. The tall Xarian scientist looked at the Strider with his large eyes and made a clicking sound of disapproval. "This is foolish, Maya," he said. "The creature is dying. You should sell it for parts before you lose everything." "No," Maya said firmly. Dr. Vex sighed. "Humans? So stubborn." But he left her a medical kit anyway. "Don't tell anyone I helped you." Maya cleaned the Strider's wounds that night. She expected it to fight, to kick, to hurt her. That's what the aliens said war beasts did. Instead, it just stood there, trembling as if waiting for pain. "I'm not going to hurt you," Maya whispered. She worked slowly, gently. When she touched an infected wound and the creature flinched, she stopped and waited. "It's okay. I'm trying to help." It took 3 hours to clean all the wounds. By the end, Maya's hands were shaking from exhaustion. She sat back against the wall and closed her eyes. She woke hours later to something warm touching her hand. Maya opened her eyes slowly. The Strider had moved from its corner. It was standing right next to her, its nose pressed against her palm. Maya didn't move. She barely breathed. The creature sniffed her hand, then her arm, then her face. Its breath was hot and smelled strange. Then, very carefully, it lowered its head and rested it on her lap. Maya felt tears running down her face. "Hey there," she whispered, slowly raising her hand to touch the creature's scarred neck. "It's okay. You're okay now." The Strider made a sound, soft and low. Not a cry of pain this time. Something else. Something that sounded almost like relief. That night, it ate from her hand. Just a little bit, but it was enough. Maya watched those powerful jaws take the food so gently from her palm, and she smiled. "We need to give you a name," she said. "Unit 4847 isn't good enough. How about Asher? It means from the ashes. Something reborn." The Strider's dull scales flickered with the faintest hint of light. Just for a moment. But Maya saw it, and her heart filled with hope. 2 months passed. Maya moved Asher to an abandoned cargo bay that Dr. Vex helped her access. The space was huge and empty, perfect for a creature Asher's size. Every day after her shift, Maya spent hours with him. At first she just sat and talked. Then she started walking around the bay and Asher followed her. His steps were uncertain at first, like he had forgotten how to move without chains. But slowly, day by day, he grew stronger. Maya noticed things the aliens had missed. Asher was smart. Really smart. When she hid food in different corners of the bay, he found it easily. When she drew symbols on the floor with chalk, he learned to step on the right ones. He understood patterns, remembered routines, and watched everything she did with intense focus. "You weren't defective," Maya said one evening, running her hand along his neck. "You were just too smart for what they wanted. They wanted a weapon. But you're so much more than that." Asher's scales had changed. The dull, cracked plates were shedding away and underneath, new scales grew in. They glowed softly with blue and green light, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. Dr. Vex said it was a sign of health. Maya thought it was beautiful. Other humans on the station started visiting. There weren't many, maybe 20 in total, but they all wanted to see the war beast that followed a human girl around like a loyal dog. Jake, an engineer, brought special treats he made. Maria, a pilot, helped Maya build better shelter in the cargo bay. "He's magnificent," Maria said, watching Asher solve a puzzle box to get food inside. "The aliens are idiots. He's not a war horse. He's a person." That's when everything changed. Thrak arrived at the cargo bay one evening. The massive Kravix mercenary commander filled the doorway, his armor gleaming under the lights. 2 soldiers stood behind him. "I want to buy the Strider," Thrak said, his voice deep and rough. 10,000 credits. That's 200 times what you paid." Maya stepped between Thrak and Asher. "He's not for sale." Thrak laughed, a harsh sound. "Little human, don't be foolish. That creature is worth a fortune now. I saw it on the security feeds. It's healthy, strong, intelligent. You fixed what we broke." "Exactly," Maya said, her voice steady even though her heart raced. "I fixed him. And I'm not selling him to be broken again." Thrak's eyes narrowed. "You don't understand our ways. In Kravix law, broken tools that regain value are reclaimed by their makers. We made this creature what it was. We have rights to it. He's not a tool, Maya said. And you didn't make him. You destroyed him. There's a difference. Throck stepped forward. His hand moved toward his weapon. Human, you try my patience. Asher moved faster than Maya had ever seen. One moment he was behind her, the next he was between them. His body was low, his scales blazing with bright light. The sound he made was not a roar. It was a warning, deep and powerful. Throck stopped. His eyes widened. It protects you. By choice. Yes, Maya said softly. By choice. That's what happens when you treat someone with respect instead of fear. For a long moment, Throck just stared at Asher. Then he stepped back. This is not over, human. The Kroviks do not forget valuable assets. He turned and left, his soldiers following. Maya's legs felt weak. She sat down hard on the floor. Asher immediately came to her side, pressing his warm body against hers. Thank you, she whispered, wrapping her arms around his neck. Thank you for choosing me too. The alarms screamed through Station Meridian 7 at midnight. Maya jolted awake in her quarters, her heart pounding. Red emergency lights flashed in the corridors. All personnel, this is not a drill, a voice crackled over the speakers. The station is under attack. Proceed to emergency shelters immediately. Maya ran to the cargo bay. She had to get to Asher. The corridors were chaos. Aliens ran in every direction, shouting in different languages. Somewhere she heard weapons firing. She found Asher pacing in the bay, his scales blazing with anxious light. It's okay, she said, though her voice shook. We need to get to the shelters. But when they reached the main corridor, the floor exploded. Maya was thrown backward, her head hitting the wall. Dust and smoke filled the air. When it cleared, she saw the horror. The corridor had collapsed. 15 people were trapped on their side, cut off from the emergency shelters. Help! Someone screamed. A young Vexian child was pinned under fallen metal beams. Its parent was pulling uselessly at the debris, crying. Maya tried to move the beam. It wouldn't budge. 2 other humans tried to help. Still nothing. The metal was too heavy. More explosions rocked the station. The lights flickered and died, leaving only emergency glow strips. Then Asher pushed past her. He lowered his head under the beam and lifted. His legs trembled with effort, his scales burning so bright they lit up the whole corridor. The beam rose. The parent pulled the child free. Thank you, the Vexian gasped, staring at Asher in shock. Thank you. But there was no time. Smoke was pouring in from somewhere. An elderly human woman collapsed, coughing. A Krovik's merchant was bleeding from a head wound. We need to find another way out, Maya said. But all the exits were blocked. Asher made a sound, urgent and commanding. He started walking down a dark side passage. His glowing scales lit the way like a living torch. Follow him. Maya shouted. The group hesitated. An alien war beast leading them? But another explosion made the decision. They followed. Asher led them through maintenance tunnels Maya didn't know existed. He stopped at intersections, his head tilted, listening. Then he would choose a direction. Somehow he knew which paths were safe. They found 3 more survivors along the way. Asher carried an injured pilot on his back. He used his body to shield them when sparks rained down from damaged electrical systems. Finally, they emerged near the secondary docking bay. Ships were there, preparing to evacuate. They were safe. But then Maya heard crying. A small alien child, no more than 3 cycles old, was wandering alone near the damaged section. Behind it, 3 pirates in dark armor were advancing, weapons drawn. No. Maya ran toward the child. Asher was faster. He charged past her, placing his body between the pirates and the child. The pirates raised their weapons. What happened next was terrible and beautiful. Asher fought like nothing Maya had ever seen. But he wasn't wild or mindless. Every move was controlled, purposeful. He kicked one pirate away from the child. He knocked another's weapon aside. When the third tried to shoot, Asher moved with impossible speed and the pirate went down. But during the fight, one shot hit close to Maya. She felt burning pain in her shoulder and fell. Asher's roar shook the walls. The remaining pirates saw his eyes, blazing with protective fury, and they ran. Throck appeared then with his soldiers, finally arriving to help. He stood frozen, watching as Asher gently picked up the child in his mouth, carrying it to its parent. Then Asher limped to Maya, blood on his scales, and lay down beside her, whimpering. By the ancients, Throck whispered. We were wrong. We were all wrong. Maya woke up in the medical bay 3 days later. Her shoulder was bandaged and aching. The first thing she saw was Asher. He was lying on the floor next to her bed, his head resting on his front legs. When she stirred, his eyes opened immediately. "Hey boy," she whispered. Her voice was rough. Asher made a soft sound almost like a purr. The medical staff had tried to remove him, but he wouldn't leave. Finally they gave up and let him stay. Dr. Vex appeared in the doorway. "You're awake. Good. You need to see something." He handed her a tablet. The screen showed news feeds from across the galaxy. Videos of Asher saving people during the attack were everywhere. Aliens were arguing in comment sections. Some called Maya a fool. But others, many others, were asking questions. If one broken war beast can do this, what have we been doing to them? The human showed it kindness and it chose to be a hero. My war beast died protecting nothing. It only knew commands. This creature understands loyalty. Maya scrolled through hundreds of messages. Humans across different stations were writing to her. They had bought rejected war beasts too. They wanted to know how she did it. 1 month later, Maya stood in a converted hangar on the outer edge of the station. 30 war beasts were there, all different species. All rejected, broken, or damaged. And all of them were healing. Jake had helped build shelters. Maria brought food. Other humans volunteered their time. Even some aliens came wanting to learn. A young Xarian named Krell stood beside Maya, watching a scarred razor wing eat from his hand for the first time. "My people said these creatures have no emotions," Krell said quietly. "But look at her. She's grateful. I can see it in her eyes." "They all have emotions," Maya said. "They just needed someone to care." The news spread like fire across the galaxy. Human crews on trading ships started buying rejected war beasts. Mercenary companies found their contracts failing because no one wanted conditioned creatures anymore. The bonded beasts were healthier, smarter, and yes, even better at protection when they chose to fight. The Galactic Council called an emergency session. Maya watched the broadcast. For 6 hours, aliens argued. Some demanded humans be stopped. Others showed research proving the war beasts were suffering under old methods. Finally, a representative from the Veltora homeworld, where Asher's species came from, stood up. "These are our children," she said, her voice breaking. "We were conquered. Our companions were taken and tortured into weapons. The humans are giving them back their souls. How can we call this wrong?" The vote was close, but it passed. New regulations. No more pain conditioning. No more forcing creatures to fight. Partnership or nothing. Throck visited the sanctuary one evening. The massive Kravix commander looked different, uncertain. "I want to learn," he said to Maya. "My people, we've done this wrong for centuries. Will you teach us your way?" Maya looked at him for a long moment. "Only if you promise something. No more war horses. Just companions. Partners." Throck nodded slowly. "Agreed." 6 months later, Maya's sanctuary housed over 200 creatures. Dr. Vex had officially joined her team. Even Krell had quit his old job to work full-time with the beasts. Maya stood with Asher on the observation deck, looking out at the stars. His scales glowed in colors no one had ever documented before. Bright blues, deep purples, shimmering golds. Dr. Vex said it was joy. Emotion the species was supposedly incapable of feeling. Asher pressed his head against Maya's hand and she smiled. "You changed everything," she whispered. "One rejected war horse and one stubborn human girl. We changed the whole galaxy." Asher's scales pulsed with rainbow light, and somewhere in the sanctuary below, dozens of other creatures sang back to him. Not war cries. Something gentler. Something that sounded like hope. The galaxy was learning what humans had always known, that kindness was never weakness. It was the strongest force in the universe.